Welcome back everyone, I'm Aric from Rare Candy, and today, as you can see, I'm finally back here after a little bit of a hiatus from the channel. I think it's been a couple of weeks now at the time of recording, but today we have just a little bit of a channel update going over kind of what I've been up to, why I haven't been able to make videos the past couple of weeks, and also what I'm hoping to be a new style of video going forward for the channel where I field some questions from you guys in the community. So I actually really wanted to have this video posted like a week and a half ago, but obviously some stuff came up in my personal life that I had to attend to, but nevertheless still wanted to make sure we got this video out for sure. But of course, first up, I do want to just quickly apologize for my absence lately. It was kind of a an unexpected thing, but yeah, basically some stuff in my personal life came up, some stuff that actually might impact my living situation as well. So without getting drowned in the weeds of the details or anything, yeah, kind of had some stuff that I had to take care of very quickly in the short term. That kind of took my attention here away from you guys and YouTube. So just a big thank you to everyone who has been patient throughout this time. I did try to make a community post on the channel to kind of keep you guys in the loop a little bit, but I should be back going forward. And honestly, it hasn't really been that bad of a period to not make videos for, just because we're kind of at the end of the battle styles format right now. I think most of the major archetypes have already been explored at this point. I don't think there's anything else too competitive left that myself or other members in the community haven't been covering already. So it is actually kind of a decent time not to be posting videos, but definitely excited to be back in the swing of things, especially since we have Chilling Reign coming up. Actually looking forward to that as well. I do want to give you guys an update. Typically I upload right around 3 videos a week, something like that. I think in the short term, I might actually reduce that to maybe like 2, just because during this time I've been gone, I would normally be prepping Chilling Reign content, but because I've been tied up, I've not been able to actually do that. So I might have to reduce some of my immediate uploads, in the short term. That way I can, be able to crank out some Chilling Reign content. I have a ton cooking right now, and I want to make sure that stuff is prepped and ready to go. Also, in case you guys did miss it, there has been some big things happening at our online store. RareCandyTCG.com launched 4 new playmats. They have been up for pre-order for a little bit, but they are now officially available to everyone. And also, I had a big restock on a lot of the other items that have been, gone for quite some time. So if you've been thinking about picking up some merch for a while, or want to help support the channel in some way, of course I will have a link down below in the description if you want to check out our online store. And also all of our patrons at patreon.com/rarecandytcg have an exclusive discount code of their own for anything on our online store. So go check that out as well for an additional way to help support this channel. So that's really most of the major stuff that's been happening sort of behind the scenes with the channel up until this point. But for today's video, the meat and potatoes of this thing is going to be a Q&A video. This is actually an idea I've been kind of flirting with for a while now, but just honestly never got around to trying out. But I thought this could be a cool way to interact with you guys in the community a little bit more, and especially too right now where the format is a little bit stale. Most of the major decks have already kind of been discovered and refined. This could be a nice way at sort of breaking things up until we have some new cards come out, like Chilling Reign, just as an example. But basically, towards the end of each month, keep your eyes peeled to the community tab on our YouTube page. Over there at the end of each month, I will have a post where you guys can submit any questions that you have, and I'll also be making a post over on Patreon as well. So you can submit questions either way, but I will be giving a little bit more priority to any questions that our patrons happen to submit. But yeah, basically I'm going to try to keep these videos to around maybe 10 to 15 minutes in length, maybe excluding this one since we have a few more things to go over than normal. But basically I might have to end up excluding a question or two just to condense things into that time span. So if I do miss your question, guys, don't get discouraged. Feel free to resubmit it when next month's Q&A video comes around. I'll do my best to get around to it. Like I said, I just want to keep these a little bit more on the brief side if possible. And of course, guys, before we dive into these questions, be sure to smack that like button. It really does help get this video seen by more people, especially since I have been gone for a few weeks and haven't been uploading as frequently. YouTube is kind of going to punish my channel and not get this video seen by as many people as normal. So definitely do that. Really does help out a lot. But let's hop into questions and see what you guys have to say. So for this question, Drew Schreikert over from our Patreon asks, where are you from? When did you start playing the Pokemon TCG? And what is one of your favorite memories playing the game? So I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I started playing Pokemon, oh my God, like back, it was right after Jungle came out. So, I mean, basically since the beginning of the game. So I was at like the perfect age, like when Pokemon blew up and was like a huge fad in the 90s. So yeah, got into the game when Jungle came out. I've kind of been playing off and on. I've definitely gone through different breaks over the years, like a lot of players. But by and large, off and on all the way since Jungle. And in terms of favorite memories playing the game, I think that one's a little bit of a tough one. I mean, there's a lot to pick from, but I think it would have to be my Worlds 2018 run, just because, like, up until that point, I'd really been struggling to get over the hump and get into day 2 at a regional. Like, I've been winning league cups. I had plenty of top 64 placements at regionals. But I always was notorious about losing my win and in at the end of the day to get into day 2 of a regional. And even going into Worlds 2018, still had never day 2'd, but that at Worlds, that was my first day 2 ever. And I was actually, I believe, the only player undefeated going from day 1 into day 2 and all the way into top 8. I was the only player that didn't drop a single series throughout the course of 2 days. So that was really big for me because, again, I'd kind of been struggling to have, like a finish that I think the community could look at me and take more seriously as a player. So yeah, Worlds 2018 was definitely a really breakout finish for me. Yeah, it was just a ton of fun just in general outside of the finish. But yeah, I think that would definitely have to be one of my favorite memories so far. So for this next question, I have a feeling you guys can kind of anticipate my answer already, but they ask, how happy are you about ADP rotating? Yeah, I'm pretty excited. ADP's kind of been a gatekeeper, or one of the gatekeepers for single prize decks and setup decks for a while now. So the fact that we're losing that is definitely great. I think there's still other challenges that single prize decks are going to have to face to be viable even after rotation, but at least eliminating one of the major thorns in their side is just great. I'm very excited for it. So for this question, our patron G asked, do you have a wish list for features you would like to see in the PTCGO client that it doesn't have today? Oh boy, yeah, there's definitely no shortage. I mean, I think the big one that a lot of the community has been pretty vocal about is they do want a ranked mode in some fashion to be implemented into the game, which I definitely agree with as well. That would definitely be good. I think one of the things I would really like to see though is a way to like trade in cards, if that makes sense. Like maybe, you have a billion copies of, Rowlet that you're literally never going to use, especially on PTCGO where it's like, it literally makes no sense to own any more than 4 copies of a card outside of energies. So it would be nice to have a way to like sell back some of those cards in some way, like maybe sell back, like, I don't know, every card is worth like 1 coin, or, they'd have to figure out the currency, or, they'd have to figure out how many cards are worth what amount of coins, but nevertheless, they could easily implement a feature like this. I think that would be really nice because I just have so many cards that are sitting on my account that I know I'm never going to use and other people aren't going to use. I think I'd also like to see support for sets going all the way back to like Ruby and Sapphire in like 2004. That would be really, really nice. Just because a lot of people are passionate about some of these older formats, and right now I think it's difficult to run tournaments or really have like a thriving community around these old formats that people really love so much, and adding support for them on PTCGO would really go a long ways at helping preserve some of these beloved retro formats. And alongside with that, one thing I would really like to see too is support for like custom game rules, because a lot of times some of these old formats, they have different first turn rules, and it would be nice to be able to tweak aspects of the game to be able to replicate those old rules. And also people could just, I'm sure, make crazy concoctions of their own. Those are, I think, off the top of my head, I think some of the bigger features that I'd be more passionate about seeing. So for the next question, what was your favorite deck you ever brought to a tournament? Now that's really tough because I've historically played a lot of weird rogue stuff over the years. I'm gonna cheat and pick 2 here. I think it would have to be Egg Splat or Noivern GX, both in the expanded formats. So Egg Splat was a deck I played at several expanded regionals back during 2019. I believe it was Toronto regionals and Charlotte, or whatever the North Carolina was at the time. But basically myself and Frank Persick, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. We weren't testing in the same circles or anything, but we kind of helped popularize that deck. Basically just using the not Explat, the Alone Executor from Team Up, I believe it is, and you could discard the Propagation Execute to do like large amounts of damage and then get those executes back on the next turn. Yeah, and there was a lot of stuff just deck building wise I was really proud of for that deck, like using the Boundaries Cross Ditto. Again, that was something that even though me and Frank weren't in the same testing circles, we both ended up figuring out that that was a really good card for the deck. And yeah, I think the deck was really cool. It was competitive and it was just really creative and allowed me to, you know, have a couple of decent finishes with a deck that, you know, largely was kind of unexplored and a rogue that me and a couple people came up on our own. So that was really rewarding. And also Noivern GX back in the 2018. Yeah, it was the 2018 season. Yeah, I already got my Worlds invite for the year, but I still had a couple regionals I was going to go to. So I brought Noivern GX. I believe it was, I'm trying to remember what the most recent set at the time was. I think Lost Thunder was the most recent set. Don't quote me on this, but it was Virginia regionals, I'm pretty sure. But basically, Zoroark was one of the most dominant decks in Expanded at the time, along with a few others, and Noivern GX was a sick meta counter. I ended up giving one of my games away to a buddy of mine, so my record for the day wasn't as good as I would have wanted, and also I chose not to play the Giratina promo to tech against the break decks like Trevenant and Greninja. I ended up playing 3 break decks that day, so I got a little bit punished for that, but that was a really sick call because Noivern Sonic Volume Attack could shut off Special Energy, which was like the main energy every deck in Expanded was playing. So yeah, just really big fan of that deck. I love Noivern as a Pokemon, so I was stoked to be able to bring something kind of rogue that I think was a really good call to that tournament. Again, it didn't quite work out for me the way I wanted, just due to a few factors like I just kind of outlined, but I think my list was pretty cool. And you can actually see my tournament reports for both of these decks I just talked about, you know, a ways back on the channel, but they're there if you want to go find them. But yeah, I really did enjoy both those decks. I think in recent memory, those are some of my more favorites. So for this question, our patron Fred Neilan asks, what deck would you recommend to someone who had approximately 15 bucks to buy the cards to create their first standard deck, aside from basic energy, of course? I think it's a little bit of a tricky one because I think most competitive decks are going to be substantially more expensive. But one of the good things I will say about Pokemon right now is that TPCI has been doing a great job at putting a lot of competitive cards in sealed product lately, of like the ADP Zacian deck. That's a fantastic buy if you have the money to pick something like that one up. I know they have like an Inteleon VMAX one coming out as well. So I think the League battle decks are definitely going to be, I think, among one of the better purchases you could make just in general. But, you know, I think outside of those, I think Mad Party is definitely a solid consideration for something like that. I think the most expensive things that are going to be in there are Dedennes, and Dedenne is a promo that you can pick up online for, I think, like $6 or so. So this is this answer is kind of a cheat because I don't think you can spend just 15 and have the core of a competitive deck. I think most decks are going to be a little bit more pricey than that, unfortunately. But I do think Pokemon just in general has been doing a much better job at getting a lot of these competitive cards in sealed product lately. So up next, this is actually, I think, a really good question they ask. Will there ever be another member of Rare Candy, or are you going to make this a solo channel? So this is actually kind of a tricky question to go over because going back to the beginning of the channel, I always kind of wanted it to be about more than just me. I never want it to be like Aric Smith's personal YouTube channel or anything like that. And as you've seen over the years, I've had a ton of people join me, you know, probably like 6 people I think have been on Rare Candy over the years. And just for one reason or another, you know, things don't work out. You know, people have, you know, bigger commitments in their personal lives, or, you know, sometimes there's drama. You know, it kind of ranges a multitude of reasons why, you know, people don't stay on the channel. You know, for the foreseeable future, I think this will remain a solo channel. It's not something I am against. You know, like I said, the original vision for Rare Candy is I did want other people. I didn't want it to be, you know, just about me. So that's something I don't mind returning to at some point. But I really think I want to make a bigger push for something like that whenever I'm able to give more of my free time to Rare Candy and really build it out to be something bigger than it is now. So for the moment, just gonna remain solo, but I'm open to changing that in the future though. So this next question is definitely up my alley. They ask, what was the last time a single prize stage 2 Pokemon was good? And what would you want from TPCI to make that format happen again, knowing they won't get away from 3 prize Pokemon for a while? So this is kind of a tricky question to answer because there have been good stage 2s over the past several years, but they're more of like exceptions to the rule than what I think of when I think of like a stage 2 format. Like we've had a Greninja Break, which is kind of a stage 3. Really more than a stage 2, so I don't want to count that. We had Gothitelle Excelgor, which was a decent deck at one point, but again, that was kind of more the exception to the rule. Yeah, I really do think the last time we had a format that was heavily based around single prize stage 2 Pokemon was the Noble Victories format. Now, that's not personally my favorite format of all time or anything, but I actually do think that was a good format. And yeah, there was a bunch of decks during that time that were pretty good. Actually, one of my favorite decks of all time is the Chandelure Vileplume deck back from then. Very expensive deck that is very hard to get the cards for, but that deck was, I think, really cool. One of my all-time favorite decks. But in terms of what can they do to, and this is more creatures than TPCI, but what can creatures do to get us back to a format like that? I mean, there's a lot that really needs to happen. There's not really one silver bullet. I think the big thing that would make me more excited is I want to go back to the original rare candy where you could play it even on the first turn that you put a Pokemon into play. I'd probably bring it back with the stipulation that you can't play it on the first turn of the game, just so you can't go like Fossil Rare Candy Amistar before your opponent draws a card or anything dumb like that. But yeah, as long as you're going second or any turn after that, you should be able to use rare candy immediately the way you used to. So that would definitely be a really good thing. And then from there, I think it just comes down to just printing cards that reward evolving or at the least severely punish big aggro basic decks or these big VMAX decks. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated question. There's a lot that would have to change. So yeah, going back to the old rare candy would be great. And maybe just an easy example to kind of show what they need to do is, cards that exclude rule box Pokemon. Back during the, mid 2000s, it was very common to see cards say, search your deck for Pokemon, excluding Pokemon EX, just as an example. That was the, multi-prize mechanic of its time. So we need a lot more cards like that, like good consistency boosting cards that exclude rule box Pokemon. We need more cards like Path to the Peak coming out, or like a Shrine of Punishment reprint, or like a Silver Bangle reprint. So if you guys haven't been watching the Countdown series I started a little while ago, where I go over cards I want to see make a return, there's actually a lot of cards I mentioned in those videos that kind of tie into this topic. So go check those out if you want to hear some more thoughts on this. But yeah, a lot needs to happen is the short answer. So for our next question, they asked, did you get into the TCG through the main series games, VGC, the card game on its own, or some amalgamation of all three? So yeah, this is not where this question is. I've just been playing for so long, it's hard to remember exactly, just because I got into Pokemon just in general when it was blowing up in the late 90s. So it might have been the video games, to be honest, but it could have easily been the cards too. Like, I remember at the time I was going to a summer camp and a lot of my friends had Game Boys, they had cards with them. So it was probably some combination of both of those. But yeah, we were, just kids and we got hooked on all of this stuff. So yeah, probably a combination of red and blue and, my friends just having the cards and stuff. So this question from our patron, Eric Wilson, is kind of similar to another question that we already took a look at in this video already, but this is definitely a topic I love, so I don't mind talking a little bit more about it. But Eric is going to ask, how long have stage 2 focus decks generally been out of favor, and what causes them to have so much difficulty? Is it really as simple as their lower HP totals and heavy reliance on getting set up, or is there more to it? Now, actually, stage 2 decks really have not been out of favor for that long. Single prize stage 2 decks are kind of a different story, but multi-prize stage 2 decks honestly were thriving for really until team up. The Sun and Moon era, I think, is actually, it's still a very recent part of the game, so a lot of people, I don't think, look at it this fondly just yet, but I think the Sun and Moon era will actually be remembered as one of the best modern eras of the Pokemon TCG, partially because of all of the support it gave evolution decks. So, right before Team Up, we had tons of stage 2 decks. We had Gardevoir, Swampert, and Solgaleo GX all in the same deck. Literally the format right before Team Up. I mean, the list goes on. I'm not gonna list every evolution deck that was popular at the time. But yeah, it really hasn't been too long. But really the issue is when Pokemon decides to print these multi-prize big basics that are stronger than the evolutions. Because it's like, well, why would I go through the trouble of evolving and playing things like Rare Candy to evolve into, let's say, a Gardevoir GX that has 230 HP when I can just slap down a Reshizard that has 270 HP and Welder and start doing 200 damage turn 1. Like, just naturally, these big basic multi-prize Pokemon just inevitably warp the game in a way that forces players away from these stage 2s. Now, this argument is specifically against 3 prize basics, because multi-prize basic Pokemon existed just fine along the other evolution GXs, just because, you know, they all gave up multiple prizes, but the evolution GXs had more HP, were sometimes a little bit stronger. So I think the GX era has actually sort of been one of the few multi-prize eras of the game that just nailed the mechanic that they were pushing. So to answer your question a little bit more directly, I do think it is partially the fact that we have these 3 prize basic Pokemon that are just instantly stronger and have more HP than multi-prize evolution cards. So that's definitely an aspect as well. But also a lot of the support that's been getting printed over the years since tag teams have been introduced are mainly in support of these already sort of overpowered cards that exist. So yeah, they're printing stupid cards that don't need to exist and giving all of the support to those cards. So yeah, this is a big topic, but I think those are sort of the main takeaways. Alrighty guys, and with that, we made it to the end of our first Q&A video here on the channel. So yeah, big shout out to everyone who did submit their questions for this video. I really do appreciate you guys being part of this thing. And if you guys do want to get your questions into future videos, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, at the end of each month or towards the end of each month, I'll have a community post where you can submit them, and also a post over on our Patreon as well. The link, of course, down below will be in the description to that. But if you guys did enjoy this type of video, be sure to smack that like button and comment down below. There's both really easy ways to let me know that you like today's content. Definitely curious what you guys are thinking about some of these questions we answered as well. So definitely sound off in the comment section below. But that's going to wrap up today's video. Again, I just want to say thanks so much to everyone for being patient while I've been gone the past couple of weeks. But I'm going to be getting back into the swing of things shortly, especially since we have Chilling Reign coming up on the horizon. I have a ton of content I'm kind of prepping in the background as that set does get closer and closer to release. But like I said, if you did enjoy today's content, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. That way you'll stay up to date whenever my next video drops. And if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg, or pick up some merch over at rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.